Hey, welcome back to Low Energy Reviews. I didn't expect to do this, but I'm going to be watching about like 6, 7 episodes of Mystery Science Theater back to back. Alright, so context. If you don't know what Mystery Science Theater is, it's the reason why riffs and, riffs in general exist today. Uh, it was a great show in the 90s and just the start of the millennium. And it was something I used to love as a kid, and then I kind of forgot about it for years, and then I saw it on YouTube about maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, and I jumped in on that. The after the show ended, they started doing another show online that eventually turned into Riff Tracks. Uh, so with YouTube being YouTube, and our generation being our generation, and Netflix being Netflix, of course, eventually they rebooted it with, well, let's say 70–80% new cast, and the gist of it is still roughly the same. The bots and the host, in this case Jonah, who's the new guy, will have to watch terrible movies and riff over them. However, this one, I think they're doing it for Thanksgiving. They're going to be a little bit different. You have to basically sit and watch the entirety of it, from start to finish, back to back. I'm guessing it's for people like me who don't celebrate Thanksgiving, or maybe it's something that the family can do as a thing, or maybe they just know more people will be at home with more free time. So I thought, hey, this could be a halfway decent thing. So, what I will do is, I will go and watch it, and then come back afterwards and film my reaction of the whole thing. And then I will do it for next, and the next, and the next, and the next. And then at the end of it, I'll just have my overall opinion. So, I am going to hop into bed and press play and watch me the first one, which is Maca Me. Yep. I've got my bottle of water. I really should have kept my dinner for this, so I'd have something to eat, but yeah. For you guys, I'll be right back, but in reality, I'll probably be about an hour and a half. Yeah, about an hour and a half, I'd say. So, power of editing, I command you. Right, so I'm just finished with Maca Me, and as always, the film is a piece of shit, but it is a ridiculous piece of shit that is perfectly suited for Mystery Science Theater. It was one thing I was actually really surprised about was just the time of it, how short it was. I keep forgetting just how goddamn short it was. But the whole thing came to about an hour 15, but that has to include the sketch bits from the Mystery Science Theater people themselves. Anyway, I was taking notes the whole time, so let's go through it. Beforehand, I'm not going to explain Maca Me. I'll explain the others, but the fact is, Maca Me is kind of ubiquitous, so if you want to know what Maca Me is, just check it out. I'm just going to say the film is shit, and it's a knockoff of E.T., which is something I actually put down here. E.T. knockoff. Yeah, pretty much. There's even a scene that is just ripped right from the bicycle scene. Alright, so, mysterious alien creature. That's actually what Mac stands for. That's the nickname they gave him. No, it's not. It's called Mac the same reason. Big Mac, MacDonald. It's there for a different reason. Spaz. So one of the sketches they've done since the very beginning is the Invention Exchange, where the Mads, the evil scientists, the mad scientists, create a item, and then they share it with the people up on the Satellite Love, the host and the two bots. don't know why I'm getting very stuffed up right now. And I forget what the mans did. Oh, it was like some sort of drug that just took away. It made people smarter, even though they're not very smart. They just believe they're smart. And the guys up in the space station, what they did in exchange was they turned the two bots into versions of Pez dispensers. But instead of Pez, it produces like a half Pez spam thing. But you know those novelty Pez dispensers with the famous characters on it, like say Darth Vader or Sauron or whatever. It was Crow and Tom Servo who were also like talking, and it looked disturbing as fuck as they were like just. The cube comes out of them of like half Pez, half pork, and they're like, "Oh, that's unpleasant." The musical composer. All right, now one thing they brought up that is very true. The music in Maca Me is really good at times, and you have to. There's a line in it where Crow goes, I want to see the film that the music composer was told he was making. That seems like that would be a great film. It was so much better than that movie deserved. Sea Monkey, another suggestion was that the costumes of the aliens they look like sea monkeys, and they kind of really do. The wheelchair off the cliff is an iconic picture. If you know anything about Maca Me, then you know that. After during one of the sketches, it was just after the also infamous or hilarious, depending on how you look at it, McDonald's scene where it's just a big party and like breakdancing and all that. They have their own version on the Satellite Love, except Gypsy appears as this all-powerful version of the Grimace that it threatens you that if you're not having enough fun, you must be sent to the ball pit. And Gypsy comes down, like half her head is the Grimace. It looks hilarious, and he has little tiny little stubby arms. That was pretty good. The store getting blown up. Interestingly, that's from the movie right at the end. Interestingly enough, there's an alternative version of Maca Me that goes in a very different direction during that scene. This is just a little thing they do. Tom's dome getting thrown away. There's just a scene where he makes this horrible pun as they're trying to resuscitate the kid. And Jonah just goes, "Alright, that's enough out of you." And he takes Tom's head off and just flings it across. I thought that was hilarious. And the transitions from the episodes. Apparently what they're going to do is, because it's meant to be watched directly one after another, they're going to be doing a version of that where it's just the way it's set up. It's all like, it seems going to be really streamlined and fast, which me doing stuff like this is actually going to slow it down. But it does give off an impression that you're meant to just watch these one after another, after another, after another, as a binge, as a sort of like challenge, or a gauntlet, really. But overall, I thought it was good. I feel the humor with this Jonah era Mystery Science Theater is more like what Joel's was at the very beginning, rather than Mike's. But I think it's better than Joel's. I still think Joel, he had his moments, but I never liked him anywhere near as much as Mike. But I am really curious now to see what this next one up is, because I've only ever seen Maca Me. And I've heard of Atlantic Rim, which is the one up next, which, as you can guess, is going to be a knockoff of Pacific Rim. But it'll be curious to see what... I'm still curious all the same to see what it's going to be like. So here's for another quick transition for you, and about an hour 20 in this, so about maybe an hour 30, hour 40. Anyway, see ya. And bam. Can you tell it's getting a bit colder? Right, so this was Atlantic Rim, and just at the start of it, they showed some sort of like I don't know, progressive story in Mystery Science Theater about an attack on the company. I don't know. I hope that they keep on going with it. Also, I'm starting to get a bit groggy, but I'm going nowhere. We still have another 4 more of these to go through. Right, so Atlantic Rim, knockoff of Pacific Rim made by Asylum. It was absolutely shit. It was not even the fun sort of shit. It was just sort of there on the ground being shit. I've actually got a good few things I did here. But I'm just going to quickly run down the story. Monsters show up and these 3 douchebags are put inside robots, and there's this subplot with this angry general, and there's also a love triangle. I mean, it's literally just 3 people, and I don't think it was even remotely resolved. But yeah, none of the characters were likable, and the CGI was terrible, and the plot made no sense, and the writing was bad, and the actors were terrible too. Like all the acting was just terrible, and yeah. So let's go through it. Inflatable air dance organ. Okay, so this one was the invention made. I forget what the Mads came up with, but their idea, the bots and Jonah's idea, was to have a you know those inflatable air guys that you see in like car dealerships, except this doubles up as an organ. So that was kind of cool looking. Oh. I have the Mads one right here. It's the suppository. It's a suppository, but it also releases the entire an entire book's worth. You just have to be careful that you don't swallow the damn things. Wrong hole. Best thing so far. The Patrick Swayze Christmas done out of the inflatable air dancing organ. If you don't know what the Patrick Swayze Christmas is, it's a classic from old school Mystery Science Theater, and they just start singing it, and it was just unexpected and fantastic. The acting is bad, so very bad. It really fucking was. Like most of the time, people's faces were just like this. Yeah. No. Okay. Terrible CGI. Yeah, it is an Asylum film after all. The only person there, the Native American admiral, he is the only person I recognize from other things, and he says a line. That's a pile of bull butter. I like bull butter. I want to start using bull butter. Stock footage, they use surprisingly a huge amount of stock footage in it. And of course, when you see the stock footage, it doesn't quite mesh up in terms of like camera work. The cameras actually reminded me a lot of stuff you'd see on like Stargate Atlantis and things like that. Mech suit bots, right? So one of the sketches was that they took the robots and put their heads on these ridiculous looking versions of themselves, but like mech suits. And then they started singing a song, but the song made no sense. It was just rhyming. If the words rhymed, they stuck it in. But I didn't... Oh, I'm trying to think. Oh, it doesn't matter. Like, if you can think of a couple of words, any words that rhyme, that's the song. It was shit. It was great. One of the main bad guy in this is a general who has like an eye patch, and I swear to fucking Christ, they were making constant Big Boss, Solid Snake references, and yeah, he's not that cool. but it was the most childish thing ever. It was just like this big eye patch, and there was a scar going down it. I don't know, maybe SNL can make fun of him or something. Topical! Alright, so overall, it's an asylum film. You know exactly what you're getting into. You know, Tremors has more respect than some of these movies. Piranha or Frankenfish levels of sci-fi original shows. But I suppose riff tracks, Mystery Science Theater is perfect for that. Right, now we are entering the complete unknown. I don't know anything about these films except that this one up here, Lord of the Deep, or Lords of the Deep, is meant to be a knockoff of The Abyss. So, well, we're going to be halfway through after this one. So, cut. Right, so I am getting very tired, but I'll explain why that's not much of a problem in a minute. Yeah, so this one was a much more traditional type of one for Mystery Science Theater. The Lords of the Deep. Like I said, it's a knockoff of The Abyss with about a trillionth of the budget and a whole lot of nothing. Except for trippiness. A lot of trippiness. A lot of new age trippiness. Didn't star anyone as far as I could tell. The CG was not CG at all. It was all practical and puppets and looked like shite. And for the most part, no one really acted all that much except for the main woman, Claire. She was surprisingly active. She had a lot of really big expressions on her face. She just normally was smiling at all times. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Kim Cattrall, a very young Kim Cattrall. Anyway, the gist is they're underwater and it's in like this post-apocalyptic future run by companies and Blade Runner-esque, and they find this alien life form, blah 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 blah. Something about we need to improve our connection to the universe and all new age bullshit. Right, so this is what I wrote down. Hand dryer air hockey table. For the inventions, the bots have the hand dryer air hockey table, which combines a hand dryer from a bathroom and an air hockey table. Plus, you can use the urinal cake as a puck. So that's convenient. Their one, the Mads, was the drone. The drone probes, which was basically drones that also can command puppets that you can control in this big 3D rig. It was all just an excuse to have a bunch of drones with a bunch of puppets flying down. It looked fun. Trippiness. Yeah, there was a lot of kaleidoscopes and weird images and stock footages of the Earth, and it was kind of had a 70s vibe to it. I don't know when this film was made. It was hard to tell the crew apart. That's something I wrote down here, and yes, it really was. So many of the actors were just brown-haired white guys who didn't really do much to distinguish themselves from each other. One guy had glasses, another guy had a mustache. It was just, they weren't all that interesting. The mind-altering Goop sketch, they spoofed the way the Goop worked to let you see through time. They put Jonah's hand into the Goop and he starts telling these really embarrassing stories. That was kind of funny. Especially his face. He's like, he just immediately cuts in. Actress looks down at the crew. There's one scene where the way she's looking down, you can actually, it kind of looks like she's just become self-aware of. Imagine on this side here, there was the three of them all down, and then I suddenly go, oh, it'd be this side, wouldn't it? Like, what the fuck are you down there? And they're like, hey lady, stop looking at us. Don't break the fourth wall. That was pretty good. There was a lot of sexual metaphors going on there. There was one scene where the sub, there was a sub, and it kind of went through this flesh wall that was oval shaped, and you can see where I was going with that. A lot of filler as well. A whole lot of watching a sub pulling out of a docking bay and going into a docking bay. Yeah, a lot of filler. This whole thing, by the way, was only about an hour 10, something like that. Right at the end, there's this trip, weird acid trip that everyone goes on, and Cary Grant did acid. They start all the crew start acting like they're like the hosts of Mystery Science Theater, not the actual crew in this movie's setting. But they all pretend to start taking acid, and apparently I think Jonah says, "Do you know that Cary Grant did acid?" And they all start pretending to be Cary Grant on acid, and that was pretty hilarious. I apparently can know everything, but I know that's impossible. You know, yeah, it was perfectly fine. Filler episode in many ways. I can see why they put it right in the middle. Now, I would actually keep on going, even though I'm getting tired, but it's kind of out of my hands. You see, what's happening now is, due to the time of year, my PlayStation, which can't connect to the 3G, can only connect to the regular Wi-Fi, is not being able to process internet signals. So this doesn't make a difference for you guys, as I'm going to edit out, and in the morning when the weather is a bit better, or if I have to, I'll just watch it on this, which has an Ethernet cable, so that's fine. I will watch the other three. So the only difference is I will have energy because I get to go to sleep. So, scene. Right, so to you guys, I've just edited it into something else, but I slept for 12 hours, so I'm actually glad I didn't have an internet connection. Yeah, so this kind of defeats the purpose of the Gauntlet, doesn't it? Also, I said I'm not quite sure why I thought it was for Thanksgiving. It might have something to do with that, as well as the fact that it's also now celebrating 30 years of being Mystery Science Theater. But also, this is important here, I was talking to someone from Minneapolis, and sure enough, they said that this is Mystery Science Theater Day, or it was like a day or two ago, probably the same day this was released. And I was like, oh god, I knew about that. Even the mayor wrote up some sort of like proclamation or something like that, which the fan page on Facebook for Mystery Science Theater was very happy to show off, as you would. So that just adds to make more sense of why they're doing this. But anyway, I'm now going to explain the movie. This is The Day the Earth Ended. This is the fourth film, so we're over the halfway point. And it was a trippy 70s movie, not as much as the Abyss knockoff one, The Lords of the Deep. But the gist is, this family goes out to this ranch out in the middle of the desert, and there's aliens. And that's all I want to say about it, because the plot is hard to follow. I think there's this alien civil war going on, and there's these bright lights and this sort of glowing yurt, pyramid alien shape thing, and yeah. Okay, so Mystery Science Theater Day, I already explained that. Kanga punches Max hard. There's a scene where she hits Max, but the way she hits him, it looks almost like that once the camera said cut, she rushed over and was like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" Because that looked like it hurt. Alright, the exchange for this time around, the guys made the fortune meal. It's like a fortune cookie, but you have a, it's basically just a full meal, which is highly crap, except for the watermelon dessert, which will show your entire life in a big sort of biography box set, which I thought was kind of funny. And the Mads wanted to create a dispenser for mustard that will evenly go across a hot dog. So Kanga comes out with this sort of proton pack that has mustard gas in the back, and you can guess what happened. The grandma in this movie looked very much like Khan from at a certain point, especially at the beginning from Star Trek 2. The hair was just no Shakespeare quotes though. Stop motion tiny aliens. All the aliens that you actually see are stop motion. A lot of the stuff is stop motion, and it looked like stop motion, I guess. I've seen worse. In fact, there's one scene in it where there's an alien outside the barn and it's pitch dark, and you can see that they put a lot of effort into the way it moves and the way it looks, but it's completely pitch dark. What was the point of that? The American male of certain age sketch. The granddad in it is the most stereotypical plus 50, early 60s man from the Southwest. You expect to drive motorcycles and wear a lot of flannel, and well, he's a cowboy. He might as well be one of the ex-Marlboro Man. So there was a sketch related to that, and I thought that was pretty good. Nothing is explained. I've just write it down. I have it down here, and it's in caps. Nothing in this film is explained till right at the end, and then it still doesn't explain half of what's going on. It's shit. The plot was just terrible, and as a result, the sketch afterwards was the sci-fi swindler script song, where Tom shows up as a sort of vaudeville 1920s flim-flam artist who comes up with this terrible script idea to basically swindle people out of their money. And it's all done to this sort of vaudeville song, and it was pretty good. We have a callback. TV Frank and Dr. Forrester's urns are showing up because Dr. Earhart, the first partner to Dr. Forrester in the original show, way back when, he shows up, but now he's real mellow. I'd love if they just dropped like, "Oh yeah, I'm living in California now. Did you know that they legalized weed?" But he's all mellow as fuck, and he's got the two Mads urns either side of him, which is weird because I thought I'm sure Forrester is dead, but I know he got turned back into a baby. But then Pearl, yeah, because the idea was that Dr. Forrester got turned into a baby when TV's Frank became TV's Frank the White or whatever the hell it was. And did a whole sort of 1001: A Space Odyssey on him. And then Pearl found him, and as a result, she vowed revenge on the Satellite of Love because she can't enjoy her retirement. But in this, they're both dead. Which is weird, because one ascended to another plane of existence, and the other one got turned into a baby, so if anything, he should be about a little younger than me at this point. But, you know, I didn't care, because it just showed their urns either side of Earhart. I thought that was pretty good. And finally, Kanga asks Earhart who her mom was, and you expect him to go like, "Oh no, you must find out for yourself," and then he's cut off. But no, he just goes, "Oh, it's Kim Cattrall." Kim Cattrall's your mom. They just throw it away, this one line. I just absolutely love it. But yeah, the day the Earth ended, it wasn't great. It wasn't a great movie. But the next one up now is Killer Fish. That sounds like fun. So I will be back for you guys momentarily, and me in about an hour and a half. So I'm very proud of myself, mostly because I'm apparently very short. Bloop. Better. And sponsored by Adidas. Or Adidas. Adidas. Yeah, very proud of myself. I did a run while watching this. At least a half hour of it. I got my workout out of the way. Considering when I'm done here, I'm going to be doing a live stream shortly after putting this up. So, yeah. Right, so this one was Killer Fish, and it was a bit weird for two reasons. One, way more musicals than before for the sketches. A very musical episode. Which was fine. They were funny. And two, it was actually a good movie. At times. So, Killer Fish stars Lee Majors. That's right. The running gag of Marge flying away with Lee Majors has come to full fruition. It's a 70s French, Brazilian, Italian film, so it's classy as fuck. And it's a heist film for the most part, involving diamonds in a very Ocean's 11-esque way. And it was... I liked that. I really did. I liked that part of the movie. Then they went and threw in this piranha angle to it, hence the title Killer Fish, that I thought was shite. I thought they didn't need it, and it actually took a little bit away from it. It was so convoluted. They had guns, for God's sake, but they were still trying to lure each other out into being killed by piranha. It was odd, which was a shame, because when it had nothing to do with the piranha, it was a fine 70s film. It wasn't great, but it was okay. If you watched it on its own, without a riff, well, it's not technically a riff, it's a Mystery Science Theater moment, it would have still been fine. But anyway, let's get to it. First of all, the exchange. Alchemy glue, where they... the bots and Jonah said that that they made a version of glue that was basically made from alchemical ingredients and was technically magic and would stick to anything until you stopped believing it. So Tom was laced in it after being put back together at some point, and Crow went, "Oh, I'll try it. I find this entire experiment ridiculous." And suddenly Tom just falls apart. I thought that was brilliant. The Mads, in a reference to Thanksgiving, did something called the time travel oven, where you put a turkey inside it and turn it around. Came out overcooked first because they put it too far ahead in time, and then they put it back too far and it came out alive as a puppet, and then they managed to get the turkey back inside and it came out as an egg. Comedy. Lee Majors, yeah. There's a scene in it where Crow starts swimming. They do this a lot more now because they've got the budget to do like CG. Because like Tom flies a lot in it. He often flies up and interacts with the screen. Where of course they couldn't have really done that before. They'd have had to winch him up or made him into a cartoon in the older show. In this one though, Tom can fly and Crow can move around. You can see his arms and legs far more often. And this one, he was basically swimming in the ocean in the background, which I thought was hilarious. I kind of like this movie, yeah. One of the sketches they did was they were wondering why piranha, like what sort of fish, hadn't been like really discovered yet what it was. And of course, it was piranha. So Crow came out as just his head, but then a weird piranha body on a stick, and the body was all like moving really impressively. Jonah put a snork head on him because it could have been snorks that were killing everyone. And a gypsy showed up as a Loch Ness monster slash creature of the Blue Lagoon on a wine tour of Brazil, and Tom came out as a octopus that would carousel with knives, and it started rotating around. It started coming towards them. He couldn't control himself, and he almost kills everyone. There was a lot of big musical numbers, and there was also an Apollo 13 sketch where they, like, how do we get these guys to dry land? Well, the raft's not big enough. Wow, if we make the crew into the raft? And they have all these little cardboard cutouts. So far I've enjoyed this the most, because the movie was good. Maybe also because I was enjoying it, because I had to focus on it like never before, because I was running like crazy. So far I find that to be the most non-ironically enjoyable film. We've got the last one now, Ator, and I swear I've seen Ator. You'll know in a few seconds. But this is the last one. So let's get to it, because I A, want to finish this so I can edit this and put it up. B, I wouldn't say no to a cup of tea right now, but I'm not going to do that until I'm finished. And C, I want to get started on my live streams, because I have to do 2 today. At least I got my running out of the way. Anyway, see you in a second, or an hour and... come on. Hour and a half. So, see you all. Well, end of season happened, which I'm kind of okay with. I don't know if it's the end of the show, but a lot of different things happened. By the way, I watched this film, and I think I watched it on Riff Tracks. So, I watched this movie, rather. Altor the Fighting Eagle. It is about as generically Conan rip-offy as you can get. I don't know, some strange European country called Italy, I think, made it. And it has, what's his name, Miles O'Keefe. And it's just a lot of Conan knockoffs with strange cults and loincloths and scantily clad Amazon women. It's stupid fun. It's generic. It's not as good as Beastmaster. Right, so this is the final one in it, and yeah, it was alright. Let's start with it. First of all, the Invention Exchange, the Swiss Army cheese. It's basically looks like a gigantic baby bell with the Swiss Army logo on it, and it's a cheese for every occasion. That was the bots, and the Mads made the Torrentino's pizza roll popper. It's basically a sure cannon but fires pizza rolls at people, which I'd be up for. Right, so 22-pound baby boy. It starts off with Altor getting born, and the baby is probably about a year old that they use. It's this huge ass fucking baby with teeth. I don't think his mother would have survived that birth very well. Oh yeah, I realized as I was doing this, I'm technically reviewing a riff of a movie. But I'm also, but as I was watching it, I'm like, I'm also reviewing the actual show itself. So, the Spider King. The Spider King looked like a mix up of Rip Torn from Beastmaster mixed in with Ziggy Stardust and Thor. He's the titular villain, the Spider King. There's a Altor's trainer is this Ming the Merciless motherfucker with a terrible wig called Gribba, and they did a sketch related to him where he's kind of going through a montage of training people. They use a lot of stock footage, big shock. There's scantily clad Amazon women everywhere that capture Altor and want him to be the father of their tribe. Shocking. Let's see, so on Riff Tracks, there's the cutesy animal for this is a bear cub called like Kolga or something like that, or Kola, and he's barely in it at all, but he's like a honey bear, and he mostly just causes angst. There's an item in this movie called the Shield of Mordor. It's also the same thing that what's his name, Perseus used to slay the Gorgons. It's basically like a shield that blinds people. They ran out of money at one point. So that's how I picture it. So there's just a scene where he's fighting his own shadow against a wall. You know, that's what I mean. Like it's so cheap and cheesy. They don't make movies like that anymore. I suppose the Sci-Fi Channel does, but even then, they're kind of like the Asylum film that I watched last night. Betrayal. There was a betrayal in it, and they didn't do the betrayal thing that I thought they would. I feel insulted by that. If you don't know what I mean, just type in Spoonie and betrayal. They hinted at a live show. Apparently, I had to check this out afterwards. They've been doing a live show. Now, I can guess why they were doing a live show, because Riff Tracks showed how much money you could do during the live shows compared to their pre-recorded stuff. But I would love to see the Riff Tracks. And the Riff Tracks. I've seen the Riff Tracks. I'd love to see the MST live show. That looks like it could be a lot of fun. They also set up a... there's been a recurring character who I think she's Australian, and she runs the B-movie animal shelter for all the weird monsters that you get to see, and her and Jonah meet, and I think they're starting to have a meet cute going on there. But that was I think that was setting up a new series. And finally, Kanga has this fourth wall breaking moment where she talks to the audience, but it all turns out to be a trap where the bots escape back to Earth again, and along with Jonah, and something very poetic Justice-ly happens to Kanga and Max. And then it all ends with a sort of musical number as the two ships, one head back to Earth and the other heads back to Mirth, which is a planet in between Earth and Mars. By the way, one of the ships is called Deep Hurting. Overall, it's fine. It's good. I kinda liked it. I kinda liked it a lot. I'm very glad I did this. I'm a little bit annoyed. I was too tired to go through with it because on Kanga's speech, she said, "We just took away like 8 hours of your precious life in this mortal coil." And I'm like, well, technically, it took away a bit longer for me. Like, I've kind of squandered 2 days worth of me time, because after this, I've got to quickly get dinner down me and then do a live stream. And I'm probably gonna have to eat dinner while I'm editing this, like a proper professional I am. But overall, I haven't really spoiled too much of it for you. Just go, and if you like Mystery Science Theater, particularly if you like the older episodes with Joel, because I forgot that Joel helped writing this entire show. So as you can imagine, that's one reason why the jokes all sound like Joel's and less like Mike's. Which would be a bit weird if Mike actually did end up. But like I said, I didn't say this. In the first season, there was actually a cameo by Pearl, Bobo, and Observer, and they were played by Mary Jo, Bill, and Kevin, which I thought was brilliant. They don't look anywhere near as old and as fat as they normally do, as they do these days. But wear and tear still happens, I suppose, to us all, even guys in gorilla suits, I guess. But anyway, I loved it. I can't wait to see what next year has to offer. Hopefully they've been renewed for another season, because it isn't just going to be a live show. I want to actually see more of this. Hell, I wouldn't say no to this whole season with Kanga and Max stuck there, trying to riff through these. But yeah, I had fun watching these, and I hope you had fun me trying to describe it to you. At any point, by all means, just watch this yourself. If you have Netflix, watch it. If you don't have Netflix, maybe watch it too. Hint, hint. But yeah, Right, I want to wrap this up quickly. So, to anyone who got this far, thank you very much for watching. Remember to like, dislike, comments, notifications, subscribe. Subscribe first, then hit that notification bell. And I'll be back in an hour or two to do a long haul stream. Probably a strategy, but we can talk more then. So I'm gonna say bye and get some food down me because I'm hungry as fuck. I'm too hungry. Diet's working great though. Okay, see ya. Bye.